Candice Alcantara leading the conversation with David Michael Rudder, legendary calypso composer and singer, and Jelani Pops Shaw, the notable composer of recently Savannah Grass. Welcome, Candice. Welcome, David. Welcome, Jelani.
Hi.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank
Hi.
you so much,
Hi.
Sean.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, and I guess I'm jumping right in. As Sean said, you're tuned into Black Consciousness Festival. Thank you for joining. I think this will be a very, very insightful conversation this evening. Lyrics to make a politician cringe, the power of Black music. Just wanted to let everyone know, I think some of you would have seen that Chikla was supposed to join us, but there's some weather issues in Bahia. But we do know that this is we're all connected in this one creative space, and hopefully we will join him another time on this festival.
Sure.
I want to jump right in today's discussion. It is an honor for me to have here, these are two generations of what I want to call music movers. Two very dynamic gentlemen, and I purposely use the word movers because you both are doers. You both are pulling along this music that we do here in Trinidad and Tobago, pulling it forward, changing the concept, reshaping it. And it's very, very exciting. I'm very happy to sit here and have a discussion with David Michael Rudder and Jelani Pop Shaw, award-winning composers, performer, mixed artist. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you for agreeing to be a part of this.
Thank you so much.
I'm honored.
Yeah, same here. It's a very
let me start with say it again.
No, I was
Jelani?
just saying it's a very surreal night for me, being asked to join someone of Mr. Rudder's caliber, to have a
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know how you feel. But the thing too is that it's very encouraging because we're seeing here the music of David Rudder and the legend of David Rudder, and he's here with us to discuss, and you are starting a new path in this Black music. And
Definitely.
so kind of to start off, I want to kind of contextualize the discussion this evening. What is Black music? What constitutes Black music? What makes it Black? Is it because of the genre? Is it, if the composer is Black, does that make it Black? What you all think?
Well, I think it's Black is the foundation of anything in the first place. The drum was our first means of communication. The strings and all the things, all these forms, their source was Africa.
Yeah.
So in a sense, we're talking about music on the whole. You're actually talking about Black music.
Yeah. And so much of it has been appropriated over time as well. And we have, in some instances, lost the honesty and the truth in the story. For example, I remember when I found out that, the banjo was created in Africa, but it's been appropriated so much that we believe that country music use it so much that it's, I suppose, a white creator has made the banjo, but it's so prominent. The guitar as well is so prominent in Africa that these things aren't taught, but it's kind of wild.
Another thing too is that most root forms of music, that people have a tendency to create something new and move on. The ones who preserve it in a strange way are mostly the white people who take the blues and give it life. After we have moved on to R&B, after we moved to funk, we move from soca to dancehall soca to calypso, from calypso to, so we're always in a transition, recreating the whole vibe, the whole rhythm of music, the whole soul of music, as we hip hop, who knows what's going to come next, and then sometimes recrossing, sometimes it's like jazz hip hop or what have you, So it's always like, I always wonder why we create and just do the thing and just
and then
move
pass
on after that.
Yeah, so quickly.
So is our immense creativity is a double-edged sword then? Because we seem to have, based on your premise, we seem to have this wealth of creativity. It's easy for us to create something new, something fresh, and we throw away the old.
Well, but the thing is that it's a symbiosis now, because you know that young white kids will come and listen to Muddy Waters and preserve Muddy Waters. So and so it goes, hip hop, everything, the whole culture is basically our culture, and the expressions of it manifest in other people all across the world. You might see a Japanese guy, he has more hip hop than anybody else,
Jelani, you're a young composer. What do you think of your contemporaries? Do you all appreciate some of the older forms of music, or do they take the time to listen, or is it considered something that's not necessary anymore?
I personally could only speak for myself in that manner, because I guess every other producer, composer I know they have different background, a different way that they grew up. I mean, in my home, when I was young, on a Saturday morning, we'd listen to the radio and it would be like Calypso Saturday, it would be like Soca Saturday. You cleaning the house and you for sure you hearing Sparrow, Kitsch, Melody. If they have those records and they're running those records throughout the weekend, throughout that Saturday, you cleaning, and it's slowly being embedded into your mind that this is what your sound is. And I felt like, I'm not sure whether or not every single household of people my age experience that, because some of my neighbors would be playing Tupac, some of my other neighbors, I mean, at that time it would have been Buju, Bounty, and dancehall music, the dub. So it was not necessarily I can't necessarily say every single person grew up the way I grew up to really love Calypso and Soca the way I love it, because it's been subliminally playing in the back of my mind so heavily. So I would say,
Go ahead, Jelani.
Yeah, so I was to get back to what you were saying, I was trying to somehow figure out later on in life, probably when I was in UE, just trying to figure out whether or not I was really alone. But you find yourself hanging out with certain people who like the same things, and then you realize, there's so much more than what I thought there was, and it goes so much further back. Luckily I went to the University of West Indies and I did a degree in theater, which is the Department of Creative and Festival Arts, and it was head by Louis McWilliams and Royal Gibbons. And these men and very important women as well were able to actually show me text, actually show me books, actually show me lyrics and written poems and all these documentation that I've never seen in my life, that proof that there is so much more than what is on the radio, what was on television, what was shown. And if we take a moment and dig a little, research a little, we'll find so much depth.
The history.
The history is so important to me.
And David, you wanted to jump in here.
Well, he's one of the lucky ones, because that was normal when I was growing up. Right. Every weekend, everybody had a Sparrow Kitchener. They had a Sam Cooke live in the Copa, and I can't remember, there's another one. But every weekend, that's what you had to listen to. Because we had 2 radio stations in those days. There's Radio Trinidad and Radio 610. So apart from that, on the weekend, just like Jelani said, you had to check out the latest calypsos, what Sparrow say, what Kitchener say. The March Grand Night was a meeting of the families had to meet and sit down and discuss each piece of the calypso and sing. And a parent would ask a son or daughter, why you think Sparrow going to win? Or why you think Melody going to win, as the case may be. That was Calypso society was locked into each other,
Right.
And then things, when we know we have like 40, 45 stations to choose from, some people might be locked into one station and that's all they know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
some of us don't listen to radio that much.
Yeah, and just like it's like being on the block. You might only know what's going on in your block. You don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. You know, so the whole thing has got compartmentalized. You know, where it was just a natural vibe. When I hear young people saying, "Well, all of them teach us," I don't think someone came out and taught me anything. But it's just that it was Calypso and society was locked into. So you couldn't miss it, you know. It was just part of what Trinidad was about, Trinidad and Tobago, especially Trinidad.
Would I be right to say, so the Jelani, your parents, and I'm bouncing off what you were just talking about, David, your parents, it's almost like you had no choice. Between Barbara and Taran, you had to be in music. And it's almost, David, as though your situation was like this creative village. And I know you're from Belmont. I live in Belmont, been there for 30 years. This creative village that raised this artist.
Yeah, I
Would
always
that be
call it,
accurate?
yes, and I always say Belmont was the first university we had before UE. It was, you know, like the intellectuals, George Lamming, Derek Walcott, they cut their teeth in Belmont. George Lamming said if it wasn't for Belmont, he wouldn't be the writer he was today. So they all passed through Belmont. All these steel bands, Belmont had the most steel bands. You know, the Ken Morris, Jason Williams, the mask makers. You know, football players. It was like everything. Belmont was like, it's like a living, walking university. You know, you go by a house and it's like going to a class. You know?
I remember meeting George Lamming when I was in UE. Oh gosh, I think I maybe spoke to him like he signed one of the texts that I had to read on for a class, and we was probably speaking for like 5 minutes, and I didn't want the conversation to end because I guess he had just so much information, just in passing. It was really I will never forget that. George Lamming.
Jelani, you touched on something earlier. You talked about being at home and being infused with our music and embedded in your head. I have this theory, you know, we talk about quotas, and I have a theory about our education system. And there are no market forces in the education system, no trade agreements. Why aren't we bombarding our children with our art? Why aren't we showing them the power of what we create?
My belief, and David actually said something that triggered it when he said, you know, a point in time came and you had 45 stations, and then I think TTT was so important. TTT was so important in my childhood growing up, and later on I would take Gaia and Tony Hall. Tony Hall played a very, very large role in me wanting to be a writer today, like completely as a writer. I would say when you have, I remember doing an econ class with Mr. L, and he was telling us, when you have $5 in your pocket, you know that you have $5 and that's all you have. You could spend $5. When you get $100 in your pocket, you know you tell yourself, "Ooh, I have some money. I could do this, do that, spread out a bit." I feel that when we had the era of cable TV and everybody was able to get so many different channels available to them, we strayed away from our local content, local media. We strayed away from that. We wanted to see what else is there out there. And that was so interesting and so captivating that everyone started to look at HBO, Cinemax, you know, the MTV, you know, for this American media. And we really sucked in all of that throughout the years. And so much so now that, you know, TTT had to come off the air for quite some time. Gaia managed to stay on. And it feels as if they were, just like you say, like, what is going on? Why isn't there a push? I feel that perhaps the powers that be, the leaders of economics and so on, they feel as if there isn't enough money in it. So they don't believe. Obviously, if you look at the fact that there is an MTV, the fact that there's an MTV Europe, an MTV Asia, and all these other channels, it shows that there is money in it, and there is a complete economy in it. There's a complete business society within pushing media and content with regard to one's own. So if calypso music had a real home, let's say on screen, 24/7. You know, I was actually talking to some of my friends the other night from school, from Fatima, about what life would have been like if we merged TTT and Gael together. What was like?
David, maybe it would have been like Belmont.
Who knows? You know what? Jelani was talking about the how everything went global.
Yeah.
Think about it this way: Sparrow was the first iPad.
Okay.
Expand on that.
Well, now
Generation
everybody goes
one.
to the iPhone, right? Everything is the iPhone, right? Which generation, what have you? Before that, people used to say, I wonder what Sparrow had to say about this. You know?
Yeah.
That was how important Calypso Society was. People were waiting on Sparrow to hear what Sparrow had with this.
Yeah.
You know? So it was like, but as the world changed and things got the level of sophistication we have now in this world. And also there's a sense of, you know, we always have a sense that we are always not better than the other man, you know? And I always say, once we understand that we as good as, or even better, I mean, Brian Lara proved it, Usain Bolt proved it, you know? Yeah. From small places, there's so many areas, you know, but music is more subjective, you know, so you could be as brilliant as possible sometimes, and that's not what's going down. Yeah. That's what, you know, so you have to stick to what you're doing, and it comes back in a way, because like I always tell people, when there's trouble in Trinidad, suddenly they find on living other music. You know? so it's you have to keep just doing the work, you know. That's what you have to do.
One of the persons on the chat raised synergy and tempo. And, you know, we were talking about these international stations coming in and being so attractive. And tempo, they tried a formula of packaging our music in a way that was attractive and modern. Why didn't tempo work?
And it actually, it was really, I think it worked. I think it worked for a hot minute. But I remember when tempo had just started, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is it. This is what we needed. Because I think Tempo was run by Viacom, which is VH1 and day. So I think, you know, in my head at that point in time, I was like, okay, someone with some actual global push who would, like, you know, put some real money behind it and give it the look it needs, and, you know, to market it well, and so that we actually get viewership. And for a hot minute, Tempo was really the standard. But like everything else, it needs work, and it needs consistent maintenance. And you know, running a television network is not easy. You know, you listen to I forget the name, the guys who founded BET. They always, you know, the kind of migraines and the sort of things they had to be dealing with consistently, with just keeping the content fresh and always having a new story to tell. It is not easy, but I think you know, perhaps we dropped the ball there, perhaps it as an excuse to say, but you know, if you wanted to keep it going, you would have held on with everything. I'm no expert with regard to that, but I still would love to see you know, it come to fruition. I think even recently VH1 was supposed to have a VH1 Caribbean version, and this last year and the year before, I was fortunate enough to have a couple songs that I worked on be licensed to VH1 and a couple of their television reality shows, like VH1 Girls Cruise and some of their Love and Hip Hop episodes as well, because they tend to have Trinidadian rooted characters on the TV show, and I think they came to the carnival and they went to a couple of fets and they used our music as part of the, the background music.
Musical backdrop.
Yeah.
But this
And
is so let's go deeper in that, right? We have been talking about, getting our music international,
We don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And so should we be holding on to the authenticity so that our music is Trinbagonian and it stands out? Or should we try to infuse elements that kind of make it palatable for the international ear? What do you think, David?
I'll let
or Jelani?
I want to hear what he says about this song.
I want to hear the maestro.
I just create music, I don't, people always say you writing for the international market. No, I write it for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Inviting everyone else to come into our world. This is how we live. This is how the things we say. So I always write, and then the other thing too is that I travel when I travel. I write when I travel. If a story is playing on my mind, like I've written about 4 or 5 songs about race relationships in America, because I was there at the time when it happened. Amadou Diallo, Gavin Cato, all these songs were written because I was there. So I'm always telling the stories as I move along, regardless if I'm in Europe or Asia or North America or wherever. So that's how I approach it. It's like, this is what I have to offer, and it's people say, well, it's song to this and it's song to that. It means that it's connected with a lot of people. Baia Girl or Calypso music. They say, well, I hear a Brazilian drum, because that's what I hear. That's how. So it's not like something deliberated I do. It's just that is how my creative space operates. So that's how I do it all the time. Take it or leave it.
That's crazy.
Jelani, what's your perspective?
I find that so interesting that he's saying that he just makes music, right? Now, last night, I remember that I first met you, Mr. Rudder, back when I was in UE, might have been 2013. I posted the picture up today on Instagram, and it was at you did a conversation with Amilka Sanatan, and it was in Daga Auditorium.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was there, and I asked a question. It was about calypso music, and it was about the radio announcers saying pan music, and that really annoyed me. And I asked, and I remember asking you, what was it like? Why is it everybody have to like subcategorize everything down to like it's pan music, and this is a power soca, and this is a groovy, and why can't it all just be calypso full stop?
Yeah.
And I think at the end of it, I got International Chantwell, the CD. I got the CD, and I wore that CD out. I went home and I listened to every last record over and over and over, obsessing over the engineering of it all and the make. I also had a family reunion recently, and I found out that Pelham Goddard is my cousin.
Nice.
And that blew my mind, that all these years, mom being in pan for so long, and then she told me, and I was like, oh, I really could not have run away from any of this. And I think, and I'm looking through the list of the CD now, and a song hit me. I'm looking through it. It could have been number 1, Douglas Woman. And I was listening to Douglas Woman, I was like, this is so disco. It is so disco, right? And I was telling myself, I keep having conversations with fellow producers, guys like Sheriff, Casey Phillips, Kit Israel, and we keep talking about the essence. What is the real essence of the soca music that we do now? Is it really just us, or is it really what we hear from abroad as well, and we soak that in and blend it with what is ours? And then when we put those two together, it just gets richer and richer and richer because we could make I'm sure if Pop Daddy came here and he was like, David Rudder, I think I need a record, David Rudder could probably write a song that is as good as an Adele record. Or if I were given the opportunity, we could produce something that is as good because we just write it music. But if you came to us and asked us how to make it for us, then we would be experts, correct? So I
we are
feel
experts in we.
yeah, for sure. It's something I remember having that conversation with Kes when we were working on Savannah Grass. We was trying to get the my audio dipped, or is it all right?
No, we hearing you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I remember we were talking with Kes and we were talking about the Kankatang, right? And it was funny every time I say it. It's like, what a weird word. But
and how do you explain it?
The minute you say it, everybody know exactly what you mean. You know, it's
jumping off Savannah Grass, Jelani. There's Savannah Grass. I remember. I always say the last, and we're going back to the concept of our pan song. The last pan song I remember moving everybody was Dust in Your Face. And then here we come years later with Savannah Grass. What is it about this Savannah? David, what is it in the Savannah that makes people write about it and makes it connect with us so much?
I didn't even connect it to.
Well, it's a long lovely city. It's how the city breeds. It's a cycle of life in this country because we pass around the Savannah. It's like a whole. It's the soul of the place.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the extension of I always say, Trinity to the bone, but Belmont is Trinity to the core. Savannah is like almost an extension of that core.
Right.
You know. Having said that, the first song I ever recorded was in 1976. That song was Double Woman. So the one you're hearing is a version, a remake of it. You know.
Wow.
But the original one was the original soca. Very, very. If you wanted to hear like go back in time, like the Shorty's songs like Endless Vibration.
Yeah.
All these songs.
Yeah, very.
Double Woman was part of that kind of.
Part of that.
Yeah, the original Double Woman. That was 76.
All right.
You know.
I just have to say this: that we have Barbara just posted Belmont is Trinity to the marrow. We have some Belmont people on the program, and so this this Savannah Grass and this energy. I want to go now to the thread where there's so many different types of Black music. We've been talking about calypso, but we have zouk, we have samba, we have, of course, calypso. Jelani, you and I were talking the other day about rock and roll.
Yeah.
What is the thread? The kankatang for us, but what is the thread through all of those genres? I think that we all connect to.
I think the way I see things is like you would mention a genre and then I'd automatically think of who I think is like, top in my mind, who would like zinging, like bam. So you say zouk, I think Kassav one time without like nothing, like like you say zouk, bam, Kassav comes one time. You think you say rock and roll, I say John Mayer. But that's just because I really like his drummer, Steve Jordan. So there's John Mayer is just like one guy, but Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, these Howlin' Wolf. I tell you, I love Howlin' Wolf. He's crazy. These real superstars, these real rock and roll stars. That's how I associate things. So you mentioned something and it will zing back to me. You mentioned calypso, Kitschy Sparrow, Mellow, Soupy.
So it's really the kind of the visual that you see with it.
Yeah, I am very, very, very visual.
I remember there's a writer, there's a journal, he had a book called, it's out of circulation now, it's called The Traveler's Street. And he visited Trinidad back in the 30s or 40s, and he said Trinidad is part of the Great Triangle of the African Renaissance. St. Louis, Missouri, Harlem, New York, and Port of Spain, Trinidad. That's the center of Black culture in the world, you know. And he is expressing the way Trinidadians move, the clothes, the suits the Calypsonians wear, the kind of songs they sing. You think this Lion and those guys were the guys at that time.
Yeah.
And he's saying that there's no place on the earth he ever see anything like that. You know, talking about Trinidad. You know, and I always tell people, I say, you know, there's always a laugh with what we do. I think because of we didn't go through the whole 400 years of pain, that while reggae music might be blue beat, as it's called originally, you know, where reggae or blues might say, this life hard, boy, this is hard.
Right.
What Calypso does, they say, this life hard, eh? This life real hard, but what we gonna do?
Right.
That is the difference. That's the difference in what we have. We have the laugh.
We're fortunate.
You know? Yeah. So
very fortunate.
So the Madman Ranch, for example.
Even okay, this is the lowest man in society. The man who is, I mean, he had nowhere else to go but down. And at the same time, he still have enough inside him to say, no time to give up, brother. No time to quit. You know, no, don't give up. So if he could say that, who are we? You know, I think that was the question the song was asking.
I was many years ago, and kind of linking off the you know, don't give up. Many years ago, I had the amazing opportunity to see Exodus perform and Brother Valentino perform Stay Up Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
With an audience of local people. So, you know, 99% Black people. And they got it. I mean, you mentioned John Mayer earlier, Jelani. Can white people get our music as much as we get it? Do they feel it the same way that we do?
Yeah, 10,000 hours. If you spend enough time with it, you could do it. That's all it is.
They will feel things inside, or you think that we naturally have inside and not even recognize it. It just comes out. They might work it out in an analytical way, you know. And so there's that. I think it works as a symbiosis, you know, because we make the music, we create and we move on, and it will live.
I feel like
categorize catalog.
I feel like, you know, as you said that, I feel like we are just naturally freestylers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that's what Calypso started freestyling. You know, like making up things as we go along, you know?
Yeah.
Telling the stories as they happen.
As it happens.
You know? Yeah.
So, and you just talked about catalog and we've seen persons with Calypso catalogs, you know, lament that it seems there's no interest and that type of thing in investment. What should we be doing to preserve our music? We spoke about schools and education and you know, infusing it into our youngsters. What should we be doing? What should the government be doing? What should artists, the man on the street? What's our role?
I think, it's so broad. I think that's so broad. I mean, when you think about what we should do, I mean, myself as a songwriter, a composer, and a producer, I try to keep all my files, you know, number one, because you never know when the opportunity may come for someone to ask to, you know, merge your music with something like film or anything like that. That's just one example. I think also Ricky Amar and when they had the studio, Amar Studio, I'm not certain whether or not they let all the artists keep all the tapes. I don't know. Maybe David could speak on that. Like, who has all the tapes, all these reels? You know, because if you don't preserve
David,
that,
who has
they
all the
go bad.
reels?
I have no idea. I have all mine.
You're right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because everything I did in the studio, I paid for. So those are mine. You know? So I have
Right.
I'm still in the process of trying to get someone to
Digitize
digitalize it.
Digitize
You know,
them. Yeah.
I have them on my on CDs. So they're different areas. But I think
Different
when we talk about
formats.
the trust, when we talk about the trust and what we have to do, I think the artists are doing it all of it they can, all we can.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to make the music. It's just that who's going to play, who's going to say, check this out.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to educate a youngster every month, every hour on the radio, play 2 vintage pieces with, you know, something like that. You know, who is going to say X percentage of airtime must go towards local content, you know?
Yeah.
Who's going to do that? You know, who's going to?
So
Everybody
we
watching.
have a lot of young DJs on radio.
Yeah.
What should we be doing to the music to get them to play more? Or is
I
it
know
that
what-
they need to change?
I know what I do. I know that every single time I see a DJ out in public, or every single time I make a record and I share it with you know, DJs that I know that I try to let them know you could blend this record with this record. So I always try and say, okay, this kind of pairs up with this. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be a vintage record. However, when I guess depending on the atmosphere of the conversation, you could really kind of push the boundaries and be like, I don't find all let us play this enough, you know. And it's not necessarily, it don't have to be my records. I just feel like I said, that Saturday will always ring in my head. Why Saturdays, why I can't be hearing, you know, Shadow a little bit more, David's records a little bit more, Sparrow records more, and I mean on every station, major ones as well. It just kind of rips my skull a little bit. And then, you know, you have other stations that I guess are devoted or a little bit more concentrated on foreign media. So they play the rock stuff. But then it's kind of like, I'm sure they are local rock, you know, a local rock bands that can use the push as well. So it's not all about Calypso and Soca alone, you know. I mean, Rapso have their Rapso hour on I-95. I know on I-95 on Saturdays at midday, Sheriff and John Gill have their show where they try to, you know, spread the you know, the experiences that producers have had, engineers. They had Robbie Foster the other day. And I feel like this or talk shows like that should be on every major station. And perhaps with the stations that want to be geared towards gospel more, then bring on gospel artists and producers more. If you want to be geared towards rock music more and pop, like white pop, you can definitely bring local artists and producers and engineers and songwriters onto when they're ready to release the record, or do what we're doing right now, do the Zoom conversation, because that's the way of the future, right? But I just feel like the effort isn't being made on every single platform.
Yeah, we need to love ourselves a little more.
Yeah.
Renee Francis just on that, Lincoln, just what you're saying, Renee Francis on the chat just said, we cannot stop singing our songs. We have to perform or play our songs at every opportunity. So she said weddings, performances. I think of elevator music. I think of holding on a phone for a business. I think of even in the space, your waiting rooms in businesses. Do we think that's going to have an impact?
Yeah, it's crazy you say that. I constantly tell my friends, and no disrespect to Movie Town, but I hate that every single time I walk into Movie Town is 80s rock playing. That used to really, really get me mad. And there we have so much local music here that anything from the 80s that was Trinidad made could have been playing at the same time. The 90s, the early 2000s. Now, I just never understood why these playlists were always running records from American 1980s. And it really, really, to this day, upsets me. Because what it says to every single person that comes there is that you're not in Trinidad anymore. And that don't make sense to me because I'm in Trinidad. Let's be real. You could transform me by going to a film. I love films. I'm a cinephile. I'll watch movies all day long and soak it up. But at the end of the day, I want to feel like I'm in Trinidad because every time we had Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, they make sure they have a pan side in the front, right? They make sure they have a small steel ensemble in the front and they're playing under a tent and they're welcoming everybody to the gala, right? You will do that. But when push comes to shove and the gala done and it's just a regular Tuesday night, why I can't be hearing, as they say, Roaring Lion, why these records not playing? That
well,
is
we have a little thing called self-hatred sometimes. Some of us are like that. We don't want to hear anything what we have to offer unless it does something big, and then they scramble at it for a little while, and then that's it.
And then forget it again.
Forget it again. That's just what I always say. Trinidad is an island of many countries. People, the world the people live in. Sometimes say, so you don't know so. I never hear is that. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
So let's look at like the rise of Afrobeat, right? Is it that there's self-love in the countries where Afrobeat has gained popularity, in the origins of Afrobeat? Is there self-love there? Zouk, is there self-love there? Reggaeton, is there self-love there?
Afrobeat.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry, yeah.
So Afrobeat, I went to Nigeria and I realized, listening, and they're talking about whining and wind down and things. I say, but interesting. A lot of the Afrobeat thing is coming out of the Caribbean, out of Trinidad. And then they have the biggest song in Africa at that time when I was there was a tune called Ganja Farmer by a local reggae artist, a Trinidad reggae artist. So I say, but if I hadn't come here, I would never know this, So I'm not surprised because the Afrobeat thing is sweeping the world now,
I feel as far as the Afrobeat conversation is on the table, I have some friends from Nigeria and Ghana as well. And let me tell you, they listen to our stuff as much as
all the time. I'll give you a story. There's a song by Manu Dibango called Soul Makossa.
Yeah.
Mama say, Mama Makossa, Mama say, Mama Makossa. Right? There was a Trinidad DJ called Arnold Henry. And he used to work in WBLS in New York, the AM station. Next door to BLS was his twin sister, WLIB. But Frankie Crocker was the DJ. When Frankie played a tune, you're on the charts.
Guaranteed. Right?
So Arnold Henry, that time Trinidad was into Fela. Everybody was singing Caribbean. I wanted Fela, Manu Dibango, King Sunny Ade, they were big in Trinidad. Trinidad was the source of being outside Africa, right? So Arnold took Soul Makossa up to New York, and Frankie Crocker heard it, and he started playing Soul Makossa until the song got so popular. Even later on, Michael Jackson take the same thing,
come and sample it,
and sample it, But that came out of Trinidad. Trinidad was the conduit to all the popular music at that time.
Jeez.
Wow. I have an interesting story about Nigeria. I happened to be at one of the tapings of So You Think You Can Dance, Nigeria. And we were all seated, everybody's well dressed, and they started to play to the ceiling. And I promise you, everybody stood up and raised their hands to the ceiling. And the person I went with was explaining the song to me. I was the only one sitting because I was just shocked. at the overwhelming response. And I shouldn't have been shocked, but I was absolutely shocked. And eventually I explained to him, I said, that's ours. And he had no idea that that song came from Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
What are we not doing?
Marketing.
Not marketing, and the problem, sometimes you have no choice, you have no power. Like the Latin American countries, for years, as soon as Trinidad songs come out with the Carnival, it's a Spanish version. Santo Domingo, Mexico. So much so, one year, a fellow called Pablo Milanes, he was made the front page of Newsweek magazine. The man who started the world beat, new song, where he makes a little bit of calypso. So
a little touch.
So I said, let me hear this song. This man, they're talking about this man so big. I hear Adabada, 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 Adabada,
Wow.
Straight
lines.
Hearing Rootsman, every calypso that come out in those years, they take it and they go with it. You know? Hammer, everything. I just had a laugh. To sue them, it's a lot of money to penetrate the South American market system. So you just leave them. You just leave them. But he made the cover of Newsweek with this song.
With this song with elements from us. Jelani, Janice is agreeing with you on the chat. Janice says marketing.
As I guess, you know, I'm young, right? I'm only 29. So from my seat here, what I'm seeing, what is prominent now is heavy marketing, you know, is internet, you know, the full Instagram, social media, they push the whole thing. TikTok is the new thing, you know. But it goes so much deeper than that. There's a lot of analytics into it. It costs quite a lot of money. I remember reading, can't remember which magazine years ago, but they broke down how they push a Rihanna song. Every time Rihanna puts out a single, they spend $1 million.
Yeah, that's a money
to push. That's just one song. They spend $1 million to push one single, and inside of that 1 million, they have a 2-week period where let's say, okay, they find one song. To get to that one song, you have to spend quite a lot of money because they have to be 100% certain that this is what they're going with, because they have to put a lot of force behind it. When we put out records as Trinidadians, and I think Caribbean people as a whole, we always go with the vibe and also the very temporary feeling behind it. It's like, that's my vibes now. Let it go. And then move on to the next thing. You know, instead of, you know, in the States, they would, let's say Adele, for example, would put out one album, one body of work, 20 songs. Wait 4 years. 4 years. She has time to sell 100 million records in 4 years. And by the time the 4 years up, she come back with another album. I think Caribbean people, we put out so much content. Not that anything is wrong with it. We just have this vast amount of creativity that can't be held back. Perhaps if we structured out the way we release a little bit less, perhaps a little bit more strategized. Let's say not put out 30 songs every year, but you know, a little bit less, and then you have some after Carnival, some in you know, I guess summer,
the August side, summertime,
the Java
different
time.
energy.
Coming down to Christmas time, and then you have that, you know, Boxing Day used to be a heavy release day, coming up for Carnival again, and then the cycle continues. But I just feel like even now we are inside, you know, during this global pandemic, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to find topics and release music that have topics not specific to the festival that is Carnival. Yeah. So I
David,
find
have
it.
you changed your link? Just want to jump off what
Sure.
you're saying, Jelani. David, have you changed the way you approach your release of songs? Are you, I know you said you write to writing's sake, but are you timing? Are you thinking about your body of work and saying, okay, I'll only release these right now? Has it changed over the years?
It has changed over the years. I used to do an album every 9 months. Every
Ah,
9 months,
Yeah.
right? But then after a while, I realized, maybe I should just concentrate on doing a song or two.
every 9 months.
Yeah, every 9 months used to be this.
Wow.
Those are the days when people used to, I was guaranteed an X amount of sales for albums.
Yeah.
And then when the technology got better, and people say, I have you on tape. Once that started, that was the end. That was the end of that,
Yeah.
I burn a seed, move from having on tape to, I done burn that already, man.
Yeah.
I wanna talk to about the interaction between the generation. Oh, sorry, let me let you finish.
Yeah. Oh, I was just saying that Jelani was saying talking about how much to break a Rihanna record.
Yeah.
Start with 1 million. I remember when I signed to London Records, someone asked me, they said, how much money did they say they're going to spend $10 million on you to break it? I said, no, they just got to put it on. He said, well, that ain't going away. Trust me, He said, to break a song, it's real money. Unless you're lucky, you're truly lucky,
Yeah.
And it's true. Yeah, I remember. Look, the guy who was the head of the Grammy committee. He would always be at the Sunshine Awards, and people say, "Well, how come nothing is Grammy and thing?" He said, "I say, how much records you sell?"
What are your numbers?
I love this music. He loved the music. He said, "What are your numbers? Everybody have it on tape." So there's a whole lot of things that controls the way we do what we don't want to happen is how let's give them a fast tune and call that one and eat them. Make music, keep making good music. I remember when I did a song with Kiss, and we went to the studio to push it. Live your life like you're playing Mars.
Yes.
One of the young DJs said, "Well, it's talking good for a slow tune, boy."
Oh.
It's a slow tune, but it's something good.
Yeah.
Even though it's a slow tune. I said, what? But it gave me a great insight in how much barriers we have to penetrate.
And this, I'm so happy you raised that, because that's linking into just what I wanted to raise. Because I have both of you here, we're discussing, right? What is the interaction between the generations of composers? What about the generations of those that are handling the business side of things now versus the performers that have already made a legacy locally? I know you do, like David, you do a lot of collaborations. Jelani, you've been doing collaborations with your generation of children of musicians. So Kit and Casey, they are children of musicians. Right? So there's a certain flavor in your music because it's music. Are you seeing collaborations apart from the performances, collaborations behind the scenes? Is that happening?
100%. 100%. I remember when I know Pelham got a junior as well, because we are on the same age. So I think I went to a party sometime and I saw him, and I just got the news that we were cousins. So I was like, yo, I just find this out. And we were tripping over it. And then in no time, he was able to change his dad's idea with regard to Panorama, and that's why they switched and decided to go for the finals with Savannah Grass. So I was like, well, look at that. Well, then, that's just one interaction that made, that was the catharsis for that to happen. Then, if you know what I mean. So it was kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that just one interaction could turn into that. So now if I apply that same idea of not holding a barrier, not holding marking up boundaries against any elder, anybody who has paved the way for myself and my young peers to be around now. I said, well, I'm just going to open my doors up completely, because at the end of the day, all I really want, or perhaps all I really need, is the information and the knowledge that they have to be passed on. To be real true griots then, so that when I move forward, I'm not ignorant to things, because the last thing you want to do is come on here with this microphone and this wide reach and say the wrong thing, and then you influence 10,000 people to say the wrong thing, pronounce the wrong thing. So I want the correct information, the true history, the real story. Fortunately, my dad, Terrence Shaw, and my mom, they're so rich in the sense of the people they were around when I was growing up. After primary school, it's kind of surreal now thinking about it. After primary school, my dad would pick me up and we would go long circular mall for popcorn, and after that we'd probably pass by Andrew Tanker. And passing by Andrew Tanker, he'd lift me up and I would play on the marimba with the sticks. And that's like one of my fondest memories, of like after school. So like a norm. And then going for a snook on around the savannah. That's a norm. So now me growing up and writing this record about the savannah makes me laugh, number one. And then like like the first song that actually got me onto into the people knowing who I was Ministerial Road in 2014. And I had just that when that song came out, I was about to graduate. So it was a very tense time. I just wanted to make sure all my grades were in check. And thinking about it, Ministerial Road is really about Dr. Kublai Singh, and the plight, his plight, and everything that he had to go through to just get this message through to people. And he would take his body to these lengths to send a message. And I felt like if I could put a song that could somehow translate the seriousness of that into a joyous time, which was being about the issue of playing mass, and then you reach Park Street and the corner park and Charlotte by Rosary Boys, where I went, and the congestion of traffic. You waiting on that stretch there up to the hospital, up to Memorial Park for like 3 hours, and you're not moving. I was kind of like, well, what is the point of this? So coming up with Ministerial Road was like trying to find a passive-aggressive solution to something like that, dealing with something like that. So when I really break it down, that song is really a Dimash Gra calypso.
A political commentary.
Political commentary, sorry. And I think, thinking back on it now, I was like, what was I on to think to go down that lane? And then the year after, I did Great Parade, which was like a love letter, honestly. Because initially when I wrote it, it was called Love Letter. And, oh God, the music was so different. But we transformed it, into making it marketable for the audience at the time. And this is what I've been doing over and over, trying to give a serious topic or a serious story, and then using new age sounds to market it to younger ears. So like, okay, Fast Wine with Marsha Montano. That was a poem I wrote called Galaxies, and I merged the verses, which were the stanzas of the poem, with the hook, which was a freestyle. And I put those.
Now I have to go back and listen to this song.
Yeah, because artists always ask me about how you go from such a deep verse And then you end up in your B chorus, you're saying fast one, fast one, fast one. I say because that part of the chorus was really just a freestyle. And also, the song was intended for Charlie Black. So people didn't even know that, fast one was intended for Charlie Black. But the way how life works.
I wanna.
Yeah, the way how life works, everything happens for a reason, and it comes to the people who it deserves to be with. So when I sent it to Marshall, we were talking on FaceTime, and he was like, "This is the best record I've heard in 10 years," and I was like, "Well, all right, well, let's move forward with it because I really like it too." And then fast forward, Charlie Black performs on Marshall Monday. And he comes on stage, and my brother is in the crowd with me, rain pouring. And Charlie is like, "Fast One is my favorite song. I wish I had that song. I wish I sang that song." So him saying that he wish he sang the song blew both of our minds because we were kind of like, "Bo."
That was the original intention. And so you've done I'm reading up. You've done a lot of collaboration with Marshall Montano.
In particular, yeah.
David, you've done collaborations with you, and it's wonderful how you're open over the years to collaborating. I mean, just thinking of Port of Spain and working with ATN, what was that experience like?
Well, a lot of the things I've done with collaboration, funny enough, we weren't in the artists weren't in the same room. I would put something down, or he would put something down, I put something down after. So we never meet, but so a lot of them came like that. What I enjoy though with working with the young people is because they ask me questions about composing and so on. But at the same time, I can also ask them questions about how they think, how they produce, how they get that song, why that's, So it's a learning experience on both sides,
Yeah.
But a great deal of those collaborations, it's like two ships in the night, because it's like
yeah,
it just come together and become something else.
I can imagine David, a lot of people. Go ahead.
I want to ask David one question. We were supposed to do a record this year, right?
Breaking news.
I wonder if you know that.
David?
Wait, that was a figure in Diego Martin.
Yeah, Michael Teja and Kevin.
Right. And there was a song
32.
There's a song by, who was it? I think I had put a verse and a chorus down and I left.
Jelani, something. The conversation. Oh, the news is like Trump.
Sometimes, what I remember that, I think I'd come in, I just flew into Trinidad, and I was kind of spaced out. And my son Isaac took me to the studio.
Yeah.
And I said, play the song, let me hear something. And I put a verse and a chorus, and I left. And that was it.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
There was this random time I called Kevin and I was like, "Hey, I want to pass through," and I went. Kevin Bihari from System 32, and I went to the same studio, and I think Mikal played it for me, and I was like, "Oh, I like the guitars," because he plays guitar. So he played the guitars, and I was like, "I like the rhythm," and we started to write something, and then I left. Just like I started to write something, we kind of put on a melody, and then I left. And then some weeks later, he was like, "Hey, we're doing it with Rudder." And it was kind of election based, which makes me laugh even more now because election's gone already. So I would like to believe that is why the song ain't come out, because election's gone already.
No, we have to make this happen, man.
That's my job.
Make this happen.
If it's election, I not in that.
Okay.
But Jambi sit down next to me, let's protect me for that thing. So it had to be for something else, not elections.
All right. It was something.
I want
to if that was the song.
We have. I hope that this forum here will ensure that happens. I hope. I put in, if my vote has any vote, if I have any.
I think it was Olatunji was the first.
Well, it could be right or no?
Yeah,
Right.
and then I did something different.
Yeah, that is actually it. It was Ola first. Yeah, word boy, yes. Yeah,
I'm hearing here then that collaborations just kind of happen. I wonder the flip side of it. What, like David, what makes you decide to go ahead and collaborate with someone?
If they work, they send songs good to me.
Or the work, right?
Yeah, the work itself. Like when I did State of Emergency with the Bishop Brothers. The place on fire, it burning down. But when we did that song, I would say, well, how about saying this and suggest certain ways, structure the lyric, which is my contribution there. But I never like to interfere too much with the energy of the new generation.
Yeah, the original.
So but try to kind of suggest something that might make it better, a little more, and it works. It was a dread song, but it became very popular when the mover shoot killings happened. And people started to burn tires on the streets and so on. Suddenly it became the anthem of the day, and so it had its purpose. I can't study, well, this won't be good for the charts. Yes, music is always for the people. First,
and then it might end up there.
Once it resonates. It's interesting. We have, hearing from Jelani talking about, I wrote a poem and then the hook in it is to capture the masses, and then to hear David say, no, I write music and then it resonates. Interesting perspectives from both ends. David, there's something I've noticed that, of course, I've seen you perform live many times. And I think it's in the Hammer, I think, that interesting that you chant sometimes, like, "Ba, open the gate."
Yeah.
And I look around and I see people, Christians, Muslims, they're all chanting, "Let Ba open the gate." And I wonder to myself, do they know what they're singing? And is that an example of the power of Black music?
It is. When people talk about power soca, I always tell them, you can't get a power soca and buy a girl. Because that year, like other young people said, that was a road march, because they can't believe a song like that. But
road
anyway,
march, Young King,
Monarch in Trinidad that year, that is all you hear, and people catching power, and So I said, that is power soca. If you can touch the people to that level, that is what it really is, But there is that energy, and you kind of, once you're in a certain mood, you open the gate for people to just relax and free up themselves. And realize, don't worry. We'll worry tomorrow. Tonight is the music.
Jelani, we were talking before about the power of Black music. David, you just said that when they connect to that energy, is that the energy? We were talking about the zouk and the jazz and the soul and disco, and is that the connecting force between Black music, widening the scope of the concept of Black music? Is that the connection?
I think so. I mean, like, all you have to hear from Muddy Waters is pa da 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 da. See that? No big deal. But it's the energy, if you're sitting on the state of rigor mortis and you hear that, you're gone clear, and that's the whole thing about our music. The fact that it opens up the possibilities for so many things. I mean, you can't. You hear the opening riff of Calypso, ba 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 ba. When you hear that, your body gets in a certain space, immediately. You open the door. Let go open the door.
Jelani, I did not know you were a poet. I mean, David Rudder, you know, is a poet. You both are actors. You're a percussionist. These things I learned recently.
Yeah.
And if we look at, you know, lyrics, we look at rhythm, we look at melody, what, from your perspective, is the first thing you start with? What is the most important element of all Black music? Personal perspective.
Well, for me, it's a heartbeat. The first thing I hear when I became a viable being on this planet was
Mm-hmm.
that's my mother heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I create this, that's I create on the heartbeat, you know.
So you are a rhythm man.
That's my trigger. And then melodies come. I can create melodies, I can create lyrics anytime I want. So it doesn't matter one way or the other. But I always try to. I think I start with the rhythm sometimes in the head.
You're a rhythm guy.
Or if I hear a melody,
Uh-huh.
I'll still put a rhythm to it one time, you know, just to see how it settles.
See how it feels. Yeah. I mean,
Jelani, would Savannah Grass have worked without the lyrics Savannah Grass?
I remember playing it in my room when Kes was here, and we didn't have lyrics. We were just playing I was just playing the music, because if I tell that story, they're gonna say, "Oh God, that's a crazy story." But me sitting down there, and we were trying to figure out what to say, and then I was just freestyling, and in the point of me freestyling, I shouted out Savannah Grass, and then the refrain happened, and that stuck. When we heard it, when we heard it, and he heard me say it, and I heard myself say it at the same time, we kind of like look at each other at the same time, kind of like, oh, right, that is it. Yes, light bulb. And we're like, that is it right there. Hold it right there. Don't move from that. So we keep in that. So we say, okay, we keep in that, and we write that part down, and we make sure like that's a pillar, and we work on the verses. A year later, you know, we started that song. It was at the end of the session that day. We didn't leave with much. We just had like a mumble track, you know, and for about a year or so I was waiting. You know, he went back on tour. I was working on other projects. I saw his brother. I saw Hans after UE Fet. And he said, "Boy, what's going on? How come we ain't do another song since Incredible?" And I said, "What are you talking about? We had to stick this song in the song on the shelf for the longest while." He's like, "What song is that?" And I played the demo, and he's like, but this bad. Why we ain't working on this?" I said, "Well, all you know, getting a chance to, you know, come up from touring and things." I said, "When you get a minute and people settle down, let me see if we could work it out." And then it, you know, time, you know, did what time does, and it worked out. You know, we went back into studio not too long after Shadow died. I remember that night. We went by Kingston Studio in St. James, and then we mapped out the lyrics, because what had happened, I had write basically one map for the song, and then he written another map, and then we merged sentences and try to make sense of it all. And then we wanted to get the vocal right. You know, I'm really, really anal and really particular about the engineering in songs. So I like to work with the same people over and over. And Johan Seaton from Madman Productions mixed, you know, Savannah Grass in his final version, went to Neil Dwyer to do the vocal. And it was such a wonderful experience because we didn't rush anything with regard to this song. And I like working with people who care about the product enough to not feel like everything had to finish tonight. Like, oh God, don't do me that.
That's
Because
what
you
David
do
said.
that.
Make good music. Keep
Yeah.
making good music.
Because I feel like at the end of the day, you think Stevie Wonder did everything in one night? You know, I mean, Songs in the Key of Life could play today, Bob Marley Legend could play today, and it sounds just as good as the first time you heard it because these people did not think lightly of their own work. They slaved over it. They obsessed over every part of it, and they wanted to make sure it right. You know, Shadow speaks about that. Um, um, oh gosh, in this album of his, I can't remember the name right now. Sweet music. But
Let me
he
let
speaks
you.
about that. He speaks about that, quite often about slaving at night over making the music right. And I never forget things like that because at the end of the day, it shows that I care. It shows that I care about what I'm, putting out
Yes.
into the
The
public. And
self-love we
I
spoke about
feel,
easier.
yeah.
Earlier,
And at the end
sorry.
of the day, the more care
As
you put
opposed
into
to
it,
self-hatred.
it definitely sounds better and it lasts longer. You know,
I want to, as you're
yeah,
talking about the care, putting the effort into the music, I want to kind of link back, the kind of wrapping up now about the power of Black music. It is important because it is powerful, because it is ours. I just wanted to ask you all both about your perspective on the role and importance of Black music in Black movements. So the Black Lives
okay,
Matter, apartheid, 70s movement in Trinidad and Tobago. What role do you think music played? You know, we think about social commentary, Fela Kuti, hip hop
yeah,
itself, the Midnight Rubber, all of those things are ways of expressing against the, standing up against the status quo and saying we do not accept this anymore. What's the role of music? David?
We have to keep telling these stories. We as a people, um, we have still in a lot of trouble. We're
yeah,
still trying to search and find our way. So along that passage, we have the accompanying music. That's the engine, the thing, to keep us going and
yeah,
telling our story.
yeah,
It's just basic as that.
yeah. I'll say we have to keep empowering the listeners and the doers of today because in most instances people don't always have this big um, I don't know, self-motivation to do a lot. And some people need music to give them that boost. People who go to the gym or athletes, they listen to particular types of music. I know some of my boys who play who play professional football like Sheldon Batu, national player. I remember when we put out Intercal Rhythm back in 2013, and he told me that he used to listen to that before going on play. And that wowed me
Power.
because the power of it, the feeling of it, because it made him remember those days when, we had to play, um, other secondary school teams. And you needed that sort of boost
To get
and that
pumped up.
youthful exuberance to go out there and do your job. So I feel like with regard to the Black Lives Matter movement and the other movements going on around the world, you know, every every pocket has a sound, and to be particular to what happens in the Caribbean, we need to know what our voice is. So we need to be listening to ourselves and understanding that that is for me. So I need to listen to this and give it a minute and not bash it. So people over I guess, the last couple of, I would say the last year or so, I've been really, really tuned into Trinidad music. And that's a really, really small group, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
But it has a lot of it has a lot of ears attached to it. So I feel like at the end of the day, Trinidad music will be what it is and it will push what it pushes. But there needs to be a bit of diversity around it because after a while your listeners start to feel like they're listening to the same thing. So
over. So
soca, yeah.
give
So
me
like
some
soca
examples
artists.
as you're talking about the Trinidad music.
Mm-hmm.
As we're going kind of to wrap up, give me
Sure.
3 artists, include international, if you'd like, that kind of exemplified the power of Black music for you.
Stevie Wonder,
Jelani
Quincy
is
Jones,
Stevie Wonder, Quincy
Quincy
Jones,
Jones,
mhm,
Miles Davis.
Miles Davis. David, who are your
You see,
top 3 exemplifiers of power of Black music?
that's a hard one, boy. That's
Yeah,
that's tough.
because
I'll
I
put you
want
in
to
a
say
box.
I want
It's
to
like
say
it's like
Art Deco.
saying
I want
it's
to
like
say Art
saying
Deco so bad.
it's like
I want
talking
to
about
put say Art
Sparrow and
Deco.
Kitchener. It's
Mm-hmm.
like talking about Sparrow and Kitchener and in mentioning Zandoli. You know, because because like we're categorizing Zandoli, but the things he had to say, it resonates today. You know, up to today. You know, so it's like it's a difficult thing. I think I just enjoy. I mean, the closest I come to that is filler because I grew up on filler. You know, I, Stevie too because we were both born the same time. We both have what people call a handicap. You know, my first label was Bad Bull Music. His first label was Black Bull Music. So I have that kind of connection. You know, so but it's tough to
Yeah,
because
to
sometimes
narrow it down.
the obscure guy is a man with real power, but you know you could see this guy never really got the due that just due, you know. But there's there's a power in his music that you know. So it's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
I wanna
Oh,
change
thank
my
you.
answer. I wanna change my
You
answer now.
change your answer, Jelani. Change your answer before we wrap up.
3. You say 3, right? 3, right?
Yeah.
Art Deco, Winston Bailey, The Shadow, and Quincy Jones.
And Quincy.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'm going
so
back
much,
there.
guys.
Yeah.
Wrapping up, I just really want to thank you both for the insight. I said from the beginning it would be insightful, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I know a lot of people were messaging me, but I'm on Zoom. I can't answer. Thank you so much, guys. And just your responses there. We got Fela, we got Quincy, we hear Shadow, Kitchener. The power of Black music is all over the world. It's all encompassing, it's dynamic, and clearly you all had trouble choosing 3. So it means that we have it all over. And I just want to just leave everyone with 2 quotes. Jelani,
Yes.
in the end, you said we have to know what our voice is.
Yeah.
Simple and powerful. And I think, Rudder, you wrapped up everything when you said we have to keep telling our stories. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I'm Candice, and we've just had a wonderful moment with David Rudder and Jelani Popshaw. Please keep looking out to the Black Consciousness Festival, and I hand you over to Sean.
Thank you, Candace, and thanks for everyone who joined us this evening. Uh, Looking out for what's happening between now and the weekend. Tomorrow, Friday the 6th, we have a lovely panel, 2 sisters from Panama, one from Haiti, on the Afro Latinidad experience. On Saturday, we have a conversation between 3 members on the social state of Africa, 2 people from Nigeria and 1 from Kenya. We also have a Kenyan food demo, and later in the night, we have DJs in the dance playing a variety of music, DJ Raucus, DJ John Gill, Junior Soy Soy, and Makini. And then on Sunday night, tune in to see Janelle Penny Commission, our first Miss Universe in 1977, first Black woman to win Miss Universe. Talk to Sherilyn Neal and Helder Diaz of Brazil, one of the first agencies, modeling agencies in Brazil to pursue people of color. So thanks again, everyone, and tune in.